Watch this.
The debate over public school funding has taken a bit of a turn this legislative session, from the how much to just the how. Well, the state superintendent has a few ideas on how to change what she says is an outdated design to divvying out the cash already in the coffers. If the expression is true, being loved keeps you young, well, you're about to meet a couple of nonagenarians who certainly don't act their age. And they're finding out sometimes the second time around is just as good as the first.
We like to say we specialize in dumb fun.
Dumb fun in a questionable costume. Well, there's no doubt, though, this couple loves each other and spreading smiles to unsuspecting people.
The funding mechanism is so outdated for the needs of the modern classroom that money that is put into the public schools budget ends up getting left on the table because there's not a mechanism to send it out based on the types of kids that are in the classrooms.
Yeah, it's true. Funding Idaho schools can get pretty complicated at times. And as we learned yesterday from the superintendent of public instruction, it can also be oversimplified to the point of the money isn't really able to get where it's needed. Idaho has essentially funded students the same way for decades. And that complicated formula that simply takes into account the number of students in each school. Today, in the Senate Education Committee, State Superintendent Debbie Critchfield pitched a new formula to that, or I should say, that not only considers how many students in the classroom, but also what kind of students. And she explained her pitch to Joe Paris.
Public education funding is always a primary topic of debate at the Idaho State House, and as it should be. About half of the state budget goes to public education. And Idaho's top education official has heard criticism of the budget amount and how it's used.
We're not funding for kids, and there was a little bit of an aha moment of, well, what do you mean? How are we funding? Isn't that the point of public schools, that we're funding for children?
Superintendent of Public Instruction Debbie Critchfield is working on a new way to fund students. An idea, she says, that has been talked about for a decade and really came together in the last year and a half. So her pitch.
Creation of common sense.
Backstory here. Idaho hasn't really changed how the system works for decades. As it stands now, it centers on average daily attendance.
It's a very complex and complicated math formula that then spits out a number to say, and this is what we're going to send to you regardless of the type of student that is coming to your doors.
Critchfield says one size fits all doesn't work in education.
We've got this wide range and this wide spectrum of students coming into the classroom, and nothing about our public schools budget takes care or represents that.
So her pitch used average daily attendance as a base, and from there, add weighted amounts for specific student characteristics.
As an example, special education. Students who receive special education services require a little bit more.
In addition to special education, the other funding weights in the proposal are economically disadvantaged students, English language learners, small schools, less than 600 daily attendance, gifted and talented students, and at-risk students in alternative schools.
I wholeheartedly believe in outcomes. We want the investment, and we want the return on that investment. We recognize that in your district, you have a wide range of students that are coming from a variety of places. You are now charged with making sure that they grow and that they learn. And we're going to put a little more into it for those students who need a little more.
At the top of the legislative list for many lawmakers, it's another education topic, school choice funding. Critchfield is a longtime supporter of school choice and believes that the same points in support of that fits this narrative too.
We don't have a system that accommodates the child. And we don't have a system that the money follows the child. And we don't have a system that accurately reflects the needs of the individual children. I agree with that 100%. So why wouldn't we do that in the public schools budget?
Critchfield knows the proposal faces pushback from those who worry about changing such a long-standing mechanism. She hopes to convince skeptics that her pitch will result in better outcomes for students and Idaho.
It feels like it should be common sense, because it is. It's like, why haven't we been doing this? This makes sense. Is there a trick in there? No, there's no trick.
And after some public testimony and debate in the Senate Education Committee, actually a very short time ago, that proposal passed committee. Brian, it'll now go to the full Senate where it gets consideration. To be clear, this would be going concurrent with the education budget itself. So this proposal is a policy bill. The education funding is a funding bill. So both of them would have to be approved by lawmakers.
The one person that did speak out against this was, I believe, a school representative from Cambridge who said this was going to end up hurting his rural school district. So I want to talk to him possibly the next week or so as this goes forward, find out what he means by that. But as Superintendent Critchfield told us yesterday, an example of this happening, like $300 million was given to schools a few years ago. But because of this mechanism, the way it's set up, $165 million of that was just left on the table. They couldn't get it out properly and to the right places.
And the superintendent hopes to take the pile of money that exists now and use it better.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. Well, for the past several sessions, lawmakers have tried to change access to sex education in schools from an opt-out to an opt-in approach. This session is no different, and once again, it's being brought forward by Republican Representative Barbara Ehart. She wants it so parents would have to give written permission to the school for their child to receive any instruction related to human sexuality. And that's not all. There's another bill that would control that curriculum, specifically when it comes to what is taught in public schools about pregnancy. As Aspen Shumpert tells us, those are just a couple of attempts at school legislation going on at the State House.
Teaching students how babies develop and what ultrasounds are used for could soon be mandatory in Idaho public schools.
A key aspect of this bill is that students will be taught that a fetus is not just a collection of cells, but a living human being. From the moment of conception, the fetus undergoes significant biological development, and by understanding this process, students will gain an appreciation for the value and sanctity of life.
The Senate bill would require instruction for students starting in 5th grade. Bill sponsor Senator Tammy Nichols shared an example video of what districts could use in Wednesday's bill hearing. But the bill and the video received pushback from lawmakers and the public for accuracy and ethics.
I'm worried that we would be putting inaccurate information out to our students that is not age appropriate.
And it's riddled with inaccuracies at about every 18 seconds.
Our students deserve honest, medically accurate, and impartial health education, not disinformation from anti-science special interest groups.
The Senate Education Committee voted to send it to the 14th order for possible amendment discussions. Cell phone policies in schools are still on the mind of Representative Chris Mathias.
The Senate bill requires school districts to restrict access to mobile phones, but provides almost no guardrails on how they do it.
He's referring to Senator Treg Bernst's cell phone bill, which passed unanimously on the Senate floor Tuesday. That would require all districts to pass a cell phone policy of their choice. Mathias introduced his own cell phone bill that wouldn't require schools to pass any ban at all. He says that's to preserve local control. But if school districts do pass a bell-to-bell policy, meaning no phones the entire school day, Mathias is proposing the state give those districts a one-time only grant of $1,500 from the state's general fund.
The problem that this bill tries to fix is situations where kids are coming out of class, and the second they get into the hall, they're back on their phones, wandering around, going to lunch on their phones.
While some committee members had an issue with using state funds as an incentive, the House Education Committee did vote to give it a hearing.
And that's not all. There's a third bill now in the legislature fighting for people's attentions, a cell phone bill, I should say. This one just says schools have to have an electronic device policy by August of this year. And Ted Hill, Representative Ted Hill, this flag bill that he had to limit what flags can be shown in the classroom, well, that one got sent back to the 14th order. And then there's also Tammy Nichols, Senator Tammy Nichols' handwriting instructions, the cursive, requiring cursive in schools. She wants that to happen, make that mandatory. So, yeah, there's a lot of attention going on with schools right now at the Idaho State House. There's also some attention being paid elsewhere. There are those in the legislature who still believe America's response to the novel coronavirus pandemic leaned a little toward the extreme. Well, from one extreme to the other, this week, a bill to limit the authority of boards of health when it comes to what preventative measures they can impose in a pandemic got set aside in the Senate, while a bill to keep any government entity from mandating the use of masks to stop the spread of an infectious disease, that one advanced to a full Senate debate after already passing through the House. Then there's the Fauci resolution, one that says the federal pardon of Dr. Anthony Fauci would not prevent him from being prosecuted in Idaho. But that's already a given since federal pardons only apply to federal crimes and not state crimes. So House Concurrent Resolution 5 is about putting what we already know on paper, even though it is already on paper. But it's also about some lawmakers not being able to move on from the pandemic.
To see that there is still in Idaho upset, frustration, sometimes anger at the way the COVID-19 epidemic was handled, particularly on the part of the federal government. And when you see the Idaho legislature taking up these matters years later, that's why.
Even if it isn't necessary. But as Senator James Ruchti pointed out, we were in the middle of a global pandemic at the time, something we haven't faced in a century, and we were figuring it out as we went along. Well, unfortunately, Senator Ruchti said too many people created this alternative reality of what we went through at the time and took certain local restrictions as a personal affront instead of, well, sacrifices like one would during wartime.
My concern is that instead of accepting some of these truths and calming fears, we inflame them, and we're still doing that here. To suggest that Dr. Fauci, and this does suggest Dr. Fauci violated laws. Doesn't say it directly, but that's clearly the intent by using Dr. Fauci's name in a resolution that also talks about charging him with crimes.
Even though there has been no evidence put forth of a crime committed by Dr. Fauci or any prosecutor in Idaho considering charging him with one. But this pardon of Fauci looks really bad, said Senator Ben Taves. But there was no mention of the perception of the full pardons granted to those who violently attacked Capitol police officers on January 6th. Fauci resolution, by the way, which is nothing more than a strongly worded letter, well, that now heads to the full Senate. Well, much has been written and said about love over the last few millennia. Like, if young love is like a flame, hot but flickering, then old love is like an embered coal, still hot but more sustainable. What about young love when you are old? Well, Aspen Shumpert met a mature 90-year-old couple today who thought love wasn't in the cards for them anymore. But as it turns out, sometimes you just need to move to another table.
We had 3 children and lived together for 64 years until she passed away.
I have been married 2 times and widowed 2 times. It just changed your whole way of thinking, your whole way of life.
My children all thought it would be a good idea for me to sell the house and live into a senior citizen complex, which I was apprehensive about.
He moved in across the hall from me.
That's where I met my latest girlfriend, Olita.
When he has a twinkle in his eye, I know everything is good.
I really wasn't looking for a so-called love affair.
Oh, I thought it was all over.
She sat at a table with a couple other women.
I don't even remember when we first started talking together.
I tried to stare at her, make eye contact, but never got any response. Finally, after a couple of months, we finally made eye contact.
All of a sudden, we were together.
Close ever since then. Never have any argument at all or disagreement.
Don is a perfect gentleman. He holds out my chair.
You want to go in?
Yep. He brought me flowers this morning because it's Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you.
Tomorrow is Valentine's Day.
We are going out to Red Lobster to dinner. This is Don's favorite outfit. And so on special days, yes, I wear this. I didn't know what I was missing. I had friends and we went places. And then until I met Don, I realized that I missed a lot of life.
Companionship increased to more or less loving each other.
And my advice to anybody is some good is right around the next corner. Don't give up and never say never.
They look forward to having their date night tomorrow, although they have made Mondays their designated date day where they go out to breakfast, Brian. Another sweet part in this story is their kids and kind of
their kids or they are kids?
No, their
Gotcha.
kids, and whether or not they accepted this later in life love story after, losing a parent and seeing your parent then move on, which they do. And that was one of their biggest worries. And tell me, all those worries went away because their kids did accept it.
I was gonna say, yeah, as a kid, I think you'd want your parents to kind of find somebody else, especially later in life, I guess. But by the time I get to that age, I just hope I have a favorite outfit at that point.
Yeah.
That you just bring out once in a while. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Aspen. So I'm being told today is Galentine's Day, which for those of us who really don't know is about celebrating platonic love amongst your friends. So it's not just for gals, it's for everyone. And one couple wants to make sure Valentine's Day is also for everyone. And they've come up with a quirky way to celebrate it that's a little like a singing telegram, but also not really. Not sure any barbershop quartets out there bring their own pole. Yeah, it's a little PG-13, so you've been warned. And here's Hunter Funk to explain.
Valentine's Day is a magical time. It's where Yondoda transforms into...
Hello, I'm Flossie.
And Flossie, along with his wife, get together every Valentine's Day.
We're definitely not just the quiet romantic type. We would rather just go do stuff like this. It's more fun for us that way.
Stuff like what they call an Edgy Gram.
We like to say we specialize in dumb fun.
And because we like dumb fun too, we decided to see what exactly an Edgy Gram looks like to an unsuspecting newsroom.
Hi, everybody. We heard that you guys needed a Valentine's wholesome welcome to Valentine's Day. Now, y'all aren't going to get out of this.
Clearly, it's called edgy for a reason.
Incredible. Oh God, oh God, oh God.
And the response in here is typically what they see at each stop.
We get different reactions. The men freeze and just and then they laugh. The women, like, they demand lap dances. They get into it, so.
John and Lisa started this after a friend of theirs would dress up as Cupid and they would tag along. But when he couldn't do it anymore, the requests still came in and they couldn't say no.
We ran down to Poindexter's, which is our local costume shop, and asked for the most offensive costume they had, hence Flossie.
It's the cringy costume and silly strut that creates laughter. And that laughter is what's becoming more meaningful for the couple.
Last year, we did go to one of the cancer centers. That was one of my favorite moments, just because you get everybody to laugh. It's just fun.
They were able to distract some of the doctors and even patients from chemo and what you could call the tough stuff. The joy is this couple's love language, and they hope people make Valentine's Day much more than just romance, but a time to spread smiles.
But this is a memory that somebody gave somebody, and that is something that we still hear years later.
It's just about showing that little, like a wink and a nod to somebody. And I think that's what we like that's how we view Valentine's Day. If we can make somebody laugh, then we're doing what we want to do.
Happy Valentine's, everybody! Hope you had a good time!
And the Edgy Gram is just for those 18 and up. They are not allowed to visit schools. Now, if parents request it for their kids, they will keep it PG and cover things up. And they came all this way from the Magic Valley.
Yep.
So if there's enough requests, they will make more trips this way.
I can't imagine they would go to schools in this political climate, but that's...
I mean, yeah, probably not recommended.
No, exactly.
You seem to enjoy it, though.
Did I?
I sasaw like a, yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing that,
You're
Hunter.
welcome. You're welcome.
These are the things you miss when you're not in the newsroom until later in the afternoon, apparently. All right, it was hard to miss the snow today. What a storm we've had rolling through. We are still seeing some significant snow in the Magic Valley. We've had a break the last couple hours in the Boise area, but look at our radar returns. There is snow filling back in over the Owyhees, making a beeline for the Boise area. So the break has been brief. The winds are still howling as well. We're seeing anywhere from 15 to 30 mile per hour sustained winds. We've had gusts nearing 50 across the region today. Travel still treacherous for the next several hours. If you don't have to head out this evening, I recommend you don't. Here's a live look at road conditions across the region. Pre-treated streets like the interstate are okay, getting just a bit slushy right now, but still those side streets very dicey. Temperatures still mostly in the 20s across the Treasure and Magic Valley. Up in the mountains, Highway 55 snow covered, as is the junction of I-84 and Highway 95. So we do expect snow to continue off and on through the evening. Temperatures will hover right below freezing all the way through the overnight hours. Highs tomorrow a little warmer than we've been. We'll hit the mid-30s, but we do continue to see snow through the evening hours. hours. We could see another inch or two here in Boise through tonight into early tomorrow morning. Valentine's Day, not just love in the air, but also rain and snow throughout the afternoon and evening. If you have date night planned tomorrow, be ready for the elements. Sunny on Saturday, but brisk and chilly. Then we see more active weather rolling in Sunday into President's Day on Monday.
Right, Sue in Boise sends us this. She says, I think Debbie Critchfield might be on the right track for school funding. If we fix public school funding, maybe we wouldn't need all the other noise about school choice and how to appropriate tax dollars. Another useless bill regarding Dr. Fauci. COVID was real, and I lost family members due to it. Those who didn't like it, well, get over it, she says. Still waiting for bills to help with reducing grocery and housing costs. This one is also somebody who wants to well, look at the Dr. Fauci resolution. Sue says, I worked as a nurse during the pandemic. Dr. Fauci saved thousands of lives. If you weren't working in a hospital, then you have no idea. Dr. Fauci should be praised, not prosecuted. Don't let the school districts make their own phone policy. Set it for statewide so they don't waste time at each school district setting a policy, says Tom. Well, you're paying the state legislature $40,000 a day. I think your school board might do it a little cheaper when they do it on a, I don't know, monthly meeting or so. Oh, my. Will there now be a bill in the House banning Edgy Grams, asked Julie. That's a very good question. You never know. We still got a few weeks left. Maybe. We'll see. And we'll see you back here tomorrow.
Continue with us and watch free now on the KTVB Plus app everywhere you stream.